We'd like to thank Josh Gladstone and Donna Rubin for having the brilliance and the forethought to bring us here to entertain.
And Hudson welcome, write it down. Thank you, Hudson.
Now, rumor had it that Irving Berlin could only play piano with one finger. There were lots of rumors.
Rumors fly and you can't tell where they start, especially when they concern a person's heart. I've heard tales that could set my heart aglow. Wish I knew if the things I've heard are so.
I would like you to listen, pay attention, and listen to a story that's old but never stale.
I would like you to listen, pay attention and listen to a 20th century fairy tale.
Now it can be told, told in all its glory. Now that we have met, the world may know the sentimental story. The greatest romance they ever knew is waiting to unfold.
Now it can be told as an inspiration.
Every other tale of boy meets girl is just an imitation. The great love story has never been told before, but now it can be told.
Once there was a princess.
Once there was a guy, and they fell in love one wonderful day.
She was a princess.
He was just a guy, so there was the royal devil to pay.
They were ordered not to speak to one another, and they knew the sorrow that would bring. Still they promised not to speak to one another.
But they didn't promise not to sing. So beneath her window tenderly he sang all the things he'd promised never to say.
He invented lots of ordinary phrases like,
I love you, dear, you're for me. But he found that when he set them all to music, they were just as good as poetry.
They say that falling in love is wonderful. It's wonderful, so they say. And with the moon up above, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, so they tell me. You leave your house one morning, and without any warning, you're stopping people, shouting that love is grand. The thing that's known as romance is wonderful.
Now it can be told as an inspiration. Every other tale of boy meets girl is just an imitation. The great love story has never been told before. To hold a girl in your arms is wonderful. Now it can be told. Later to become Irving Berlin, was always surrounded by music. His father was a cantor in Siberia, where Israel's life began.
Israel was the 8th child born to Moses and Leah.
Every night you'll hear her croon a Russian lullaby, just a plaintive little tune when baby starts to cry.
Rock-a-bye, my baby, somewhere there may be a land that's free for you and me and a Russian Rock-a-bye, my baby, somewhere there may be a land that's free for you and me and a Russian
In 1893, the 5-year-old Israel watched as the Cossacks burned his home to the ground. So Moses, the father, crowded the family onto the reeking steerage level of the SS Rhineland headed for America, where after a long and arduous journey, they were greeted by the recently installed Statue of Liberty.
They settled on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, a place that's been described as a gray stone world where even on the most beautiful spring day, you would not see a blade of grass. Israel, his father, Moses, never found work, steady work in America, and Israel remembered selling the prized family samovar piece by piece to a local junkman until the heirloom was gone. It was also in America that he learned English, his second language, his first being Yiddish. And he remembers going across the street to visit a Christian family, a Catholic family, and gazing in wonder at their Christmas tree.
Aber träum von einer weißen Christmas, genau wie grob am Morgen gekannt, wo die Bäume schimmern und die Kinder schlitten glücklich auf dem Schnee. Aber träum von einer weißen Christmas, genau wie grob am Morgen gekannt, Tag von Freude und Licht soll haben und sollen alle Christmas-Tage sein weiß. Now, while peddling papers on the Bowery, Israel stopped into the local saloons to sell papers. Of course, he didn't sell a lot of papers there. These people were not readers. But he did see there were little kids there making money as singing waiters, so he dropped the paper route and he became a singing waiter. And he found that he had a knack for inventing dirty parodies of famous songs of the day. And Izzy Baylin's dirty parodies became very popular on the Bowery. Now, there was a kid in a neighboring saloon who made extra money by publishing songs that he wrote, and Izzy said, well, gee, I could do that. So Izzy wrote the lyrics, the saloon pianist wrote the music, but on his first published piece of sheet music, Israel Baylin was shocked by a typographical error.
Words by I, Berlin.
So, no more I, Baylin. It's I, Berlin. Why not? It's America. Everybody changes their name. So, I, Berlin, wrote lyrics for about a year until he figured he could make twice the royalties if he could also write the music, so he taught himself to play the piano. But Israel had very tiny little hands, and they just fit better on the black keys, so he only ever played in F sharp his whole life. And in fact, years later, he got this piano that had this big lever that would change the location of the hammers underneath the strings so that he could play in whatever key he wanted, regardless of the fact that his hands remained in F sharp. And he called this piano with its big lever his Buick. And it was on his Buick in 1911 that Irving Berlin wrote Alexander's Ragtime Band.
Now, this swept the country, and it made him, they called him the king of ragtime. But not only was ragtime sweeping this country, it was sweeping well beyond the USA. London's dropped its dignity, so has France and Germany. All hands are dancing to a raggedy melody full of originality.
The folks who live in sunny Spain
Dance to a strain that they call the Spanish tango. Dukes and lords and Russian czars, men who own their motor cars, throw up their shoulders to a raggedy melody full of originality. Italian opera singers have learned to snap their fingers. The world goes around to the sound of the international rag. What did you do, America?
Thereafter you, America,
You got excited and you started something. Nations jumping all around. You got a lot to answer for.
they lay the blame right at your door.
The world is ragtime crazy
from shore to shore.
All hands are dancing to a raggedy melody full of originality. In every land, America, most every band, America, has started everybody dancing gaily, prancing gaily all around. There's something to everywhere, there's a deceiver everywhere. Each happy, snappy, chappy cries, it's a bear, it's a bear, it's a bear. And lords and the Russian czars, men who own their motor cars, throw up their shoulders to a
Raggedy melody full of originality.
raggedy, raggedy, full of originality. Italian opera singers
Have learned to snap their fingers.
The world goes
Around to the sound of it. The world goes around to the sound of it. The world goes round to the sound of the international raggedy melody full of originality. International rag. With the publication of Alexander's Ragtime Band, Irving Berlin was now a wealthy 23-year-old gentleman. One day, he was in his office, and a very pretty 19-year-old singer named Dorothy Getz walked into his office, and she asked him for a song that he had once written. So he went around to get the song, and just as he turned around, another very pretty girl walked into the office asking for the same song. And when that other girl saw Irving Berlin had the song in his hand, the other girl just snatched it right out of his hand. So sweet little Dorothy Getz hauled off and slugged the other girl. Irving broke up the fight by giving the song to the other girl and asking Dorothy on a date. They fell wildly in love. They were perfect for each other. She was a feisty ragtime baby. He was the recently crowned king of ragtime. They married very quickly, and they honeymooned in Cuba. But while in Cuba, Dorothy contracted typhus, and she died just a couple of months after they were married. It was at this point that Irving Berlin wrote his first important ballad. I lost the sunshine and roses. I lost the heavens of blue. I lost the beautiful rainbow. I lost the morning dew. I lost the angel who gave me summer the whole winter through. I lost the gladness that turned into sadness when I lost you. It took Irving Berlin a long time to get over the death of his wife. This was the third major loss in his incredibly young life. He had lost a sister when he was 10. He had lost his father when he was 13. And now Dorothy. So he decided he would just go it alone. He wasn't ever going to trifle with marriage ever again. At least he could control that, you see. And he remained a confirmed bachelor. Until 11 years later, things changed. But for 11 years, my care's upon the shelf. Because I find myself with no strings, no connections, no ties to my affections. I'm fancy free and free for anything fancy. No dates that can't be broken, no words that can't be spoken, especially when I am feeling romancy. Like a robin up on the tree, like a sailor that goes to sea, like an unwritten melody, I'm free. That's me. I wake up every morning with a smile on my face. Everything in its place as it should be. I start out every morning just as free as the breeze. My care's upon the shelf because I find myself with no strings and no connections, no ties to my affections. I'm fancy free and free for anything fancy. No dates that can't be broken, no words that can't be spoken, especially when I am feeling romancy. Like a robin up on the tree, like a sailor that goes to sea, like an unwritten melody, I'm free. That's me. Bring on the big attraction. My decks are cleared for action. I'm fancy free and free for anything fancy. Now, it's 11 years later, and anything but free and fancy-free with no connections is the 21-year-old heiress, Ellen Mackey. She's a member of a socially prominent Irish Catholic American family, resident of a mansion just off of Fifth Avenue, and Harbor Hill, a 50-room estate in Roslyn, Long Island. She's the granddaughter of a silver magnate and daughter of one of the richest men in the world.
My ancestors were shrewd investors, making millions in speculation. When they counted their gold, they mounted on the high horse of reputation. Now it seems I've inherited a responsibility. Though it never was merited, I must act accordingly. With a family reputation, you can't do this and you mustn't do that. You must say no to temptation, though you must confess that you'd rather say yes. I'm looking for a Washington who'll agree to come and chop down my family tree. Oh, my family reputation is making a wreck of me. Now, seated at the perfect Upper East Side dinner party is the perfect extra man. Always dapper, always well turned out, always unattached.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? He's seated across from the perfect Miss Ellen Mackey.
Let's go slumming, really slumming. Let's go slumming on Park Avenue.
Strolling up the avenue so happy, all dressed up just like some English chappie, very snappy.
Come, let's mix where Rockefellers walk with sticks or umbrellas in their midst.
Putting on the Ritz.
Let's go slumming.
Putting on the
Let's go
Ritz.
slumming.
Putting on the
Let's
Ritz.
go slumming, no slumming on Park Avenue.
Over soup, Miss Mackey leans across the table and she says,
Mr. Berlin, I just love your song, What Shall I Do?
my glass did a spit take at that. I'm sure that you mean what all I do when you are far away.
And I am blue, what will I do? What'll I do when I am wondering who is kissing you? What'll I do? What'll I do with just a photograph to tell my troubles to? When I'm alone with only dreams of you that won't come true, what'll I do?
Gone is the romance that was so divine. It's broken and cannot be mended. You must go your way and I must go mine. But now that our love dreams have ended,
What'll I do?
I lost the sunshine
when
and
you
roses.
are
I lost the
far
heavenly
away,
blue.
and
I lost the
I
beautiful
am blue.
rainbow.
What'll I do?
I lost the morning dew.
What'll I do?
Strings
with
and
just
no connections,
a
no ties to my affections,
to tell
especially when
my
I'm
troubles
feeling
to.
romancy.
When I'm alone with only dreams of you that won't come true, what will I do?
When I lost you. After dinner, Irving invites Miss Mackey to go dancing,
He helps her into his chauffeured silver and gray Minerva.
where he finds that the demure and refined Miss Ellen Mackey is full of surprises.
Follow that fire truck. Let's see what's burning.
We're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave. The temperature's rising, it isn't surprising, she certainly can.
Can.
He takes her to Jimmy Kelly's downtown.
Way downtown.
Come, get together, let the dance floor feel your leather. Step as lightly as a feather, let yourself go.
Come, hit the timber, loosen up and start to limber. Can Can't you feel that hot marimba? Let yourself go.
Let yourself go, relax.
Let yourself go, relax. You got yourself tied up in a knot. The night is cold, but the music's hot.
She, her anatomy, made the mercury jump to 93.
Yes, sir.
Stepping out with my baby, can't go wrong 'cause I'm in right. Ask maybe, most maybe, that I'm all dressed up tonight.
Stepping out with my honey, can't be wrong to feel so right. Never felt quite so sunny, so I keep on knocking.
There'll be smooth sailing 'cause I'm trimming my sails with a bright shine on my shoes
And on my nails.
Stepping out with my baby, can't be wrong 'cause I'm in right. Ask me when will the day be? Everybody's doing it, doing it, doing it.
Everybody's doing it, doing it, doing it.
Ain't that music touching your heart?
Hear that trombone busting apart.
Come,
Come,
come.
come heaven, I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak, and I seem to feel the happiness I seek when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek.
Heaven. I'm in heaven, and the cares that hung around me through the week seem to vanish like a gambler's lucky streak when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek.
Oh, I'd love to climb a mountain and to reach the highest peak, but it doesn't thrill me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek.
Oh, I love to go out fishing by a river or a creek, but I don't enjoy it half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Dance with me, I want my arm about you.
The charm about you will carry me through to heaven.
It only happens when I
I'm in
dance with you.
and my heart
That
beats
trip
so
to
that I
heaven,
can
till the
hardly
dance is
speak, and I
through.
seem to
With no
feel
one
the
else to the
happiness
heaven
I
seem quite so
seek
near. Why
when
does it
we're
happen, dear?
out
Only with
together.
you. Stepping
Together.
out with my baby, stepping out
Get together,
dancing
dancing
cheek
to
cheeks together can be so divine.
but only when those cheeks are yours and mine.
I've danced with dozens of others the whole night through, but the thrill that comes with spring,
When anything can happen,
that only happens with you.
everybody's doing it. Well, you can probably imagine that Ellen had a lot of...
What about the reporters and
Oh,
photographers?
reporters and photographers. They go wild with this romance between America's famous... Oh, no, actually, one of America's richest heiresses
One of America's richest Catholic heiresses,
and America's favorite songwriter.
who happened to be 15 years her senior and Jewish.
Well, her father forbids her to ever speak to him again. But it's too late. Ellen is smitten.
Oh, and Irving can be.
And Irving, she's smitten first.
Yeah.
And Irving can be very persuasive.
Soft lights and sweet music, and you in my arms. Soft lights and sweet melody will bring you closer to me.
He's not so good in a crowd, but when you get him alone, you'd be surprised. He's not so much at a dance, but then when he takes you home, you'd be surprised. He doesn't look like much of a lover. Don't judge a book by its cover. He has the face of an angel, but there's a devil in his eyes. Such a delicate thing. But then when he starts to squeeze, you'd be surprised. He doesn't look very strong, but when you sit on his knees, you'd be surprised. At a party or at a ball, I've got to admit he's nothing at all. But in a Morris chair, he's not so good in the light. But on a bench in the park, you'd be surprised. He's not so much in the light, but when he gets in the dark, you'd be surprised. He may look as slow as the Erie. You don't know the half of it, dearie. He looks as cold as an Eskimo, but there's fire in his eyes. He doesn't say very much, but then when he starts to speak, you'll be surprised. He's not so much at the start, but at the end of the week, you'll be surprised. On a streetcar or in a train, you'd think he was born without any brain. But in a taxi cab or in a Morris chair under velvet lights with sweet music, you'd be surprised. Well, you can probably guess that Ellen had a lot of suitors, some suitable, some unsuitable. But as she told her mother, I like this one. So Ellen didn't know what she told her girlfriend. She didn't want to settle down, but she told her girlfriend.
Well, the story about the Prince of Wales.
Oh, this is the best. Ellen, this is how popular Ellen was. Her, probably the most suitable, most eligible bachelor in the world at the time was the Prince of Wales. Okay. Ellen's father, Clarence Mackey, gave a party in his honor at Harbor Hill. And so a lot of debutantes of the time claimed that they danced with the Prince of Wales. Well, actually, the Prince of Wales did dance with Ellen. And as she's dancing with him at her father's estate, every eye in the room was on her, of course, and they were thinking, oh, this might be the one.
Now, when Clarence Mackey entertained the Prince of Wales at Harbor Hill, he had Irving Berlin specifically banned from the premises. But he couldn't stop the band from playing one Irving Berlin hit after another. So Irving was on Ellen's mind all night long. And she had promised that she would call him at a designated time.
So here's Ellen Mackey dancing with the Prince of Wales. Every eye in the room is on her. And she leans over into his ear and says, I need to call my beau. Could you make a distraction for a few moments? He leans into her ear and says, of course, Miss Mackey. That is, if you'll promise that you'll tell your father not to show me his collection of armor yet again.
Must you dance every dance with that same fortunate man? won't you change partners? And then you may never want to change partners again.
Ellen was a very independent young woman. She had no intention of settling down. But as she told a friend, I've fallen in love with Irving Berlin. Don't ask me just how it happened. I wish I knew. I can't believe that it happened. But still, it's true. I got lost in his arms and I had to stay. It was dark in his arms and I lost my way. From the dark came a voice and it seemed to say, there you go. How I felt as I fell, I just can't recall. But his arms held me fast and they broke the fall. And I said to my heart, as it foolishly kept jumping all around, I got lost. But look what I found. Well, she had to find out how Irving felt, so she thought she'd mention one of those suitable suitors, a diplomat from Washington who had given her a watch. So she said to Irving, what do you think? Should I return it?
Return it, keep it, do whatever you want, dear. It doesn't matter to me.
Be careful. It's my heart. It's not my watch you're holding, it's my heart. It's not the note I sent you that you quickly burned. It's not the note I sent you, the book I lent you that you never returned. Remember, it's my heart. The heart with which so willing you part. It's yours to take, to keep or break. But please, before you start, be careful. It's my heart. Her father whisked her away on a world tour, hoping that she'll forget what's become for him enemy number one, Mr. Irving Berlin.
But she doesn't forget.
She sends him telegrams every day. Postal telegraph, Western Union, of course, because her father owns Postal Telegraph. Waiting for a ring, a ting-a-ling, all alone every evening, all alone, feeling blue, wondering where you are, and how you are, and if you are all alone.
Just like a melody that lingers on, you seem to haunt me night and day. I never realized till you were gone, my life is very lonely. And I want you, only you keep coming back like a song that keeps saying, remember, that sweet used to be, that was once you and me, keeps coming back like an old melody. The perfume of roses in May returns to my room in December from out of the past where forgotten things belong. You keep coming back like a song.
She does come back.
This forced separation only made Irving more aware of his feelings for her, and he started introducing her around town to his friends. This confirmed bachelor of 11 years was finding it harder and harder to keep those walls up. My defenses are down. She's broken my resistance and I'm in an awful jam. I went into the fight like a tiger, but I came out like a lamb. My defenses are down. She's got me where she wants me, and I can't escape no how. I could speak to my heart when it wakened, but my heart won't listen now. Like a toothless, clawless tiger, like an organ grinder's bear, like a knight without his armor, like Samson without his hair. My defenses are down. I might as well surrender, for the battle can't be won. But I must admit that I like it, so there's nothing to be done. Yes, I must confess that I like it. Being miserable is gonna be fun. Christmas, 1925. Irving gives Ellen a gold cigarette case. But by New Year's, his old fears started cropping up again, and he told her he was planning a trip for Europe.
As far as she was concerned, he'd sailed. But it turned out he was playing poker that New Year's Eve weekend at the Algonquin with some of his friends. And he was very good at poker, but he was being unusually inept. And as Franklin P. Adams wrote in his column, obviously his mind was elsewhere. And then on January 6th, 1926, Ellen is all alone. I'm so all alone. There is no one else but you. All alone by the telephone, waiting for a ring, a ting-a-ling. He rings.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, I have the ring. Let's face the music and dance.
He says they can get married that morning at City Hall. Could she meet him at his apartment? They could just catch a subway.
Ellen Mackey had never caught a subway.
She was sitting in a little gray dress that needed to go to the cleaners. She had a lovely dress in her closet which she hoped to wear on her wedding day. But she didn't bother to change. She ran.
Before the fiddlers have fed, before they ask us to pay the bill, and while we still have the chance. Actually, Ellen almost did have to pay the bill because Irving forgot his wallet and he didn't have the $2 for the marriage license, so he asked Ellen.
Ellen didn't think this was a good way to begin married life.
Now, luckily, a guy came along who was their witness, a friend of theirs, and that guy forked over the $2. Let's face the music and dance. Soon we'll be without the moon, humming a different tune. And then Ellen takes his new bride to meet his sister, Gussie. Gussie was the unmarried sister who stayed back behind with their mother.
Gussie opens her arms wide to Irving's new shiksa bride. May her mother, who took to bed when Irving married his first shiksa bride, rest in peace.
There may be teardrops to shed, but while there's music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. They went on a 7-month honeymoon, London, Paris, Madeira, but at practically every stop they were hounded by reporters and photographers, and always with the same question.
Have you heard from Mr. Mackey? Only that he'd rewritten his will, disinheriting Ellen. But while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, And
everything went wrong, and the whole day long I'd feel so blue. For the longest while I'd forget to smile. Then I met you.
now that our blue days have passed, now that I've found you at last. This song was Irving's wedding gift to Ellen.
I'll be loving you always, with a love that's true, always.
When the things you've planned need a helping hand, I will understand always, always.
Days may not be fair.
Days may not be fair always. That's when I'll be
That's
there.
when I'll be there always.
Not for just an hour,
Not for just a day.
not for just a year, but always.
I was blue, just as blue as I could be. Every day was a cloudy day for me. Then good luck came a-knocking at my door. Skies were gray, but they're not gray anymore. This is the song that Irving Berlin wrote to celebrate the birth of his first daughter. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see.
Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long.
I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right.
Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly.
Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on.
This was an editorial that was picked up in newspapers across the country. The name of Ellen Mackey, America's foremost heiress, has been stricken from the chaste seats of New York's social register. Thus, her blue-eyed 7-pound daughter faces life with the hideous handicap of neither its mother nor its own small self being given a paragraph, a sentence, or even a comma in that arbiter of human destinies, the social register. Perhaps the fact that her dad is one of the most famous men in America might help a bit. Here's hoping that young Miss Berlin has no colic brought on by worry over this grave omission. I should care if the wind blows east or west. I should fret if the worst looks like the best. I should mind if they say it can't be true. Mr. Mackey had no response to the announcement of the birth of his granddaughter. Ellen's sister said that she'd like to see the baby, but had no interest in meeting or even acknowledging the baby's dad. Ellen told her not to bother.
Now the baby's 38-year-old dad suddenly had a new family to support, and like any new father, he was worried about money. I'm a songwriter. How many hit songs can one person write? I should smile. That's exactly what I do. Songwriters say the storm quickly passes, that's their philosophy.
They see the world through rose-colored glasses. Why shouldn't we? Just around the corner, there's a rainbow in the sky. So let's have another cup of coffee, and let's have another piece of pie. Trouble's just a bubble, and the clouds will soon roll by. So let's have another cup of coffee, and let's have another piece of pie.
Let a smile be our umbrella, for it's just an April shower.
Even John D. Rockefeller is looking for the silver lining. Times
are not so sweet, but the blue bloods have to eat. So the best of families meet in in the automat. All the millionaires who were lunching at Pierre's now are occupying chairs in the automat. The Morgans and the Whitneys and other big shots
turn dollars into jitneys and drop them in the slots.
Times are on the fritz, so they all have left the Ritz, and the social column sits in the automat. Take your lunch at the automat and you'll see that it's become hi-hat. You'll see members of society.
Mrs. Belmont passing by, putting mustard on a Swiss and rye.
Every day with a tray in hand, you can see those high-toned babies stand in line. Take a look at Mrs. Ryan.
Wishing Mrs. Randolph Hearst, saying, that's my place, I got here first.
The Dukes and Biddles and the Rockefellers, too, enjoy their griddles like the rest of us do.
And a plate of beans will fill their hearts with glee.
Come along and you will see
Miss Belmont with a grin and a dab of ketchup on her chin.
with pearls around her neck, Mrs. Woolworth eats her mutton
And then she splits the check with her girlfriend, Mrs. Hutton,
while lunching at the automat.
Times are not so sweet,
But the blue bloods have to eat, so the best of families meet in the automat. While the panic's on, if you look for AutoCon, you will find that auto's gone to the automat.
A Whitney with a pickle is not very swell.
But pickles for a nickel are cheap, so what the hell? Times are on the fritz, so they all have left the Ritz, and the social column sits in the automat, where a first-class lunch is bought for just a nickel at the automats. Even John D. Rockefeller is looking for the silver lining. Just around the corner, there's a rainbow in the sky. So let's have another cup of coffee and let's have another piece of pie. Mr. Herbert Hoover says that now's the time to buy. Let's have another cup of coffee and let's have another piece of pie at the automats. With the Depression, talkies soared, so Irving Berlin suddenly found himself writing in Hollywood. He wrote 3 blockbusters for Astaire and Rogers, Top Hat, Follow the Fleet, and Carefree.
But he's most proud of his productions with Ellen, a second daughter in 1933 and a third one in 1936. And most surprisingly of all, Mr. Mackey became a wonderful grandfather. All the tragedies that experience changed him. He'd lost everything in the Depression and had to move into a small farmhouse on the estate. He had to get rid of his famous art collection and even that prized armor that he was so proud of. He would sit at family gatherings and muse about the times he entertained the Prince of Wales at Harbour Hill. And he'd say, I wish you could have been there, Irving. He would sit there at family gatherings. There he'd sit in a place of prominence, looking at this pride, at this family that prized itself on diversity, and acted as if he'd always approved.
There was a lot of writing going on in the Berlin household at this time. Not only Irving, Ellen wrote 12 short stories for the Saturday Evening Post and eventually 4 novels.
The storm clouds were gathering. 1940, most of Europe had been conquered. Rommel was in North Africa. It looked as if Hitler would win, take over Canada, make some sort of agreement possibly with the U.S., which would amount to conquest. So politics became, well, Irving and Ellen had 3 half-Jewish daughters.
How was Irving Berlin going to protect them? Would they have to flee to South America the way that he had to flee Russia as a child?
Politics became a very important part of their lives, and they took the controversial view that America should end the war.
When America finally did enter the war, Irving Berlin went on an extensive 3-year international tour entertaining the troops.
Not only that, he would sit at bedside, amputee wards, scribbling down addresses of mothers and wives, and he promised to write letters home. Ellen was keeping the home fires burning and still had time to write her most famous novel, Land I Have Chosen. She would also sit in darkened theaters watching those film clips of battlefields, knowing her 56-year-old husband was in those exact locations. 56 is a good age for a songwriter, not so great for a soldier.
Well, there were the countless injections, the endless insect bites, the hellish weather, and of course he missed Ellen and his wife and his children terribly.
But you can probably guess what for Irving Berlin was his greatest sacrifice.
Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I'd love to remain in bed. For the hardest blow of all is to hear the bugler call.
You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning.
One day I'm going to murder the bugler. One day they're going to find him dead. And then I'll get that other pup, the guy who wakes the bugler up, and spend the rest of my life in bed.
Do as the bugler commands. They're in the army and not in a band. This is the army, Mr. Jones. No private rooms or telephones. You had your breakfast in bed before, but you won't get it there anymore.
This is the army, Miss McLeod. No dates with officers allowed.
There's a lieutenant with nice blue eyes.
You can look, but you can't fraternize.
Don't picture fate in the street. Come in the lobby and get off your feet.
I left my heart at the stage door canteen. I left it there with a girl named Eileen. I kept her serving donuts till all she had were gone. I sat there dunking donuts till she caught on. I must get back to the army routine.
This is the army, Mr. Green.
And every doughboy knows what that will mean.
We like the barracks nice and clean.
A soldier boy without a heart has 2 strikes on him from the start. And my heart's at the stage door.
She had you worried, but this is war, and she won't worry you anymore.
You are a private, but this is war, and there's no privacy anymore. Meanwhile, back in the private sector, Ellen was doing her part for the war efforts.
Any bonds today? All you give will be to live in the USA. Here comes the freedom man. Can't make tomorrow's plan, not unless you buy a share of freedom today. First came the Czechs, and then came the Poles, and then the Norwegians with 3 million souls. Then came the Dutch, the Belgians, and France, and all of the Balkans with barely a chance. It's all in the book, if only you look. They fell every one at the point of a gun.
A little old church in England tumbled down. A little old-fashioned church in London town. appears where it had recently stood for years. A little old church is gone beyond repair.
The waltz of old Vienna is gone beyond recall, vanished from most every house. Kallmann and Lehar and Strauss, the waltz of old Vienna, you heard at every ball. They still play it, it's true, but the feeling is false. You can't do a goose step to a waltz. It's all in the book, if only you look. It's there if you read the text. They fell everyone at the point of a gun.
Stay until it's over, that's our aim.
Stay
until it's over, that's our aim.
All alone, I'm so all alone. There is no
That's what
one
we
else
will
but
do.
you.
To be home again, cross the foam again, and be home again.
What'll I do with just a photograph to tell my troubles to?
Just one drink of water that's not. Just one shave with water that's hot. All alone.
Every evening, all alone, feeling blue, wondering where you are, and how you are, and if you are all alone too.
Oh, just to be again with a she again, neath a tree again.
What'll I do with just a photograph to tell my troubles to?
We adore the nurses and wax, even in their trousers and slacks. But to caress again, May and Bess again, in a dress again. There's no romance when you dance cheek to cheek, pants to pants.
You'll be blessed if you all invest. America
Oh,
wasn't
how I
made
long to
that.
be homeland that I love.
Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea,
Somewhere there may be a land that's free for you and me.
give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me.
From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam.
I lift my lamp beside the golden dawn.
God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America. to be home.
And how you are, and if you are all alone too.
When Irving Berlin returned from World War II, he was tired and depleted. He had seen too much suffering and death and destruction.
Ellen cherished her role of trying to heal her husband.
And all he wanted to be at this point was a husband and a father. He wanted to go on walks with Ellen. He wanted to go on fishing trips with his daughters. What he did not want to do was to start writing a new show.
But Richard Rodgers could be very persuasive. He was producing a show which he did not want to write. The original composer, Jerome Kern, had died suddenly, and he was convinced that the only songwriter for this task was Irving Berlin.
Now, Irving Berlin said, "Every time I start on a new project, I worry that this might be the time when I reach for it and it isn't there." But of course, with Annie, Get Your Gun, it was there. Of the 15 songs in the score, astonishingly 8 made it to the hit parade.
His next show was another huge success, Call Me Madam, also starring Ethel Merman.
And the show after Call Me Madam was with the same book writers, same collaborators as Call Me Madam. It was produced by the same producer as Call Me Madam. It was directed by Josh Logan, who had directed Annie, Get Your Gun. It starred Anita Gillette, Robert Ryan, Nanette Fabray. The buzz on the street was palpable. The ticket sales were off the charts. Mr. President opened October 20th, 1962, and the critical response was unanimous.
Well, of all the rotten shows, wide open, heaven knows. Did you ever see such scenery? Did you ever see such clothes? What a reminiscent score. And the book was such a bore. And that awful rhinestone number that was done before the war. I wonder who produced it. The program doesn't say. It's not the Minsky brothers. They denied it yesterday. Every sketch was much too long. And the curtains all went wrong. And did you ever hear such silence? At the end of every song,
say it isn't so. Say it isn't so. Everybody's saying you don't love me. Say it isn't so. Everywhere I go, everyone I know whispers that you're growing tired of me.
it's the worst in weeks. And the wise old Greeks had a word for it, and that word is lousy.
It was as if I owned a store, and people no longer wanted to buy what I had to sell. The world was a different place. The death of President Kennedy, the Vietnam War, social protests. Music changed too. The Beatles and other groups were able to reach audiences that I couldn't. People say that you found somebody new, and it won't be long before you leave me. Say it isn't true. Say that everything is still okay. That's all I want to know. And what they're saying, maybe it's just time I close up shop. Say it isn't so. Me and my piano and me, we are bound up together in sympathy. Me and my piano, we are seldom apart on the nights when I feel like a heart to heart. When I'm blue, I express it with my hands, and when I do, my piano understands. When I'm having trouble that I mustn't disclose, when the world mustn't know of my private woes, my piano knows. Yes, my piano knows I love a piano. I love a piano. I love to hear somebody play upon a piano, a grand piano. It simply carries me away. I know a fine way to treat a Steinway. I love to run my fingers over the keys, the ivories, and with the pedal. I love to meddle. Not only music from Broadway, but I get so excited when I'm invited to hear a long-haired genius play. So you can keep your fiddle and your bow. Give me a P-I-A-N-O. Oh. Oh, I love to stop right beside an upright or a high-toned baby grand. When Irving Berlin was 100 years old, he was told that his great-grandson, who was 2 years old, had a favorite song that made him want to dance. And that song was Alexander's Ragtime Band. Now, this was very welcome news to a man who was quite certain that his music was not going to survive him.
Come on and hear, come on and hear Alexander's Ragtime Band. Come on and hear, come on and hear. It's the best band in the land. You will hear a bugle call like you never heard before, so natural that you want to go to war. It's just the bestest band, one hand, my honey lamb. Come on along,
I love a piano.
Come on along,
I love a piano.
Let me take you
I love
by
to hear
the hand
somebody
up to
play
the man,
upon a piano,
the man
a grand piano.
who is the leader
It simply
of the
carries me
band.
away.
If you care to hear that
Give me
swanny
a bow, give me a
revolving
P-I-A-N-O. I love to stop right beside an upright or a high-toned baby grand. Won't you play a simple melody like my mother sang to me? Musical demon, such a honey dream. Won't you play me some rag? Just change that classical nag to some sweet, beautiful drag. If you will, musical demon, such a honey dream. Some rag. Just change that classical nag to some sweet, beautiful drag. If you will play me a copy of a tune that is choppy, you'll get all my applause. And that is simply because I like to live through. If you like to go, the weather is hot. H-double-L is a hell of a spot. If you like to swell, there's all of sorts. Hades is the best of the winter resorts. Here and ice doesn't compare. All the nice people are there. They all come from everywhere just to revel with Mr. Devil. Nothing on his mind but a couple of hearts. Satan is hitting his jazz band.
When they were picking it, they put a kick in it, a jazzy licking it. You'll find a couple of old reformers in hot, making you go to bed at 11. Pack up your sins and go to the devil, and you'll never have to go to that at all. You don't need analyzing, and it's not so surprising to feel very strange, but the eyes. Your heart goes pitter-patter, and it just what's the matter? Because I wonder why. Put your head on my shoulder, it is on the shoulder, and once more I lost my appetite. There's nothing you can take to relieve that pleasant ache.
Twinkling in my eyes, I wonder why. For the 1966 revival of Annie, Get Your Gun, Irving Berlin proved that the old man still has what it takes. See, he had learned something, not just in his work, but in his life, that nothing is quite as strong as two disparate voices, challenging each other, playing off of each other, waking each other up. At the age of 78, Irving Berlin wrote one last enduring show tune. We'll have an old-fashioned wedding, blessed in the good old-fashioned way. I'll vow to love you forever. You'll vow to love and honor and obey. Somewhere in some little chapel, somewhere where orange blossoms bloom, we'll have an old-fashioned wedding, a simple wedding for an old-fashioned bride and groom.
I want a wedding in a big church with bridesmaids and flower girls, a lot of ushers in tailcoats, reporters and photographers, ceremony by a bishop who will tie the knot and say, do you agree to love and honor, yes, but not obey? I want a wedding surrounded by diamonds and platinum, a big reception at the Waldorf with champagne and caviar. I want a wedding like the Vanderbilts had, everything big, not small. If I can't have that kind of a wedding, I don't want to get married at all. I want a wedding in a big church with bridesmaids and flower girls, a lot of ushers in tailcoats, reporters and photographers, ceremony by a bishop who will tie the knot and say, do you agree to love and honor, yes, but not obey? I want a wedding surrounded by diamonds and platinum, big reception at the Waldorf with champagne and caviar. I want a wedding like the Vanderbilts had, everything big, not small. If I can't have that kind of a wedding, I don't want to get married at all.
I love to stop right beside an upright by piano and
was celebrating his 80th birthday. There was this big day in New York City. Kitty Carlisle Hart told us this story. It was a big thing in Central Park. It was during the Mayor Lindsay's administration, and there were thousands of children, dozens of choirs and photographers, and Kitty Carlisle was standing right behind Mr. and Mrs. Irving Berlin when the photographer got ready for that big memorial shot.
And just as the photographer was about to take that shot, the 80-year-old Irving Berlin gave his 60-something-year-old bride a patch on the behind. And he said, "Smile like you love me. Dreams will all come true, growing old with you, and time will fly
each day more than the day before, till spring rolls by. Then when the springtime has gone, then will our love linger on.
Irving loved nothing more than the company of Ellen. So when the whole world of show business was celebrating at Carnegie Hall, Irving's 100th birthday, he preferred to dine alone with Ellen.
How many times a day do I think of you? How many roses are sprinkled with dew? How far would I travel to be where you are? How far is the journey from here to a star? And if I ever lost you, how much would I cry? On July 29th, 1988, after 62 years of marriage, Irving lost Ellen. How deep is the ocean?
How high is the sky?
The song is ended, but the melody lingers on. You and the song are gone.
Irving's father died at a young age. His mother and siblings, none of them had long lives. It was almost as if Irving was living for Ellen.
If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
On September 22nd, Irving Berlin was 101. September 22nd, 1989, Irving joined Ellen.
But the melody lingers on. The night was splendid, and the melody seemed to say, summer will pass away. Take your happiness while you may. There, 'neath the light of the moon, we sang a love song that ended too soon. The moon descended, and I found at the break of dawn you and the song had gone. But the melody lingered.
The song is ended, but the melody lingers on. The song is ended, but the melody lingers on. The melody lingers